for BrandonRFoster.com, here to encourage you, inspire, and motivate you to live your most joy-filled and abundant life. And today, I want to talk about the fears of forgiveness. Yes, the fear of actually forgiving somebody who really hurt you, really broke your heart, really either betrayed your trust, rejected you, that's really just crushing, heartfelt pain. And for those of you who maybe don't know my story, when I came out of the closet, my parents are very religious, and while there's nothing wrong with that, because of the religious beliefs, they rejected me when I came out of the closet. And it was one of the most painful experiences of my entire life. When I say rejection, for me, there was like a breaking point, and that was when I had my first birthday, when my parents didn't text, they didn't call, it was like I didn't even exist. And if our number one reason we exist in life is to be loved, then when that rejection happens, it's terrible. And especially depending upon how, whether it's your parents, significant other, whoever it is, how they hurt you, if it has something to do specifically with your identity. So for me, it was identity of being gay, but if it's your identity of who you want to be as far as like your job, or who you want to be as far as a parent, and they start labeling you or judging you, it just can be really, really painful. So I want to talk about the fears of forgiveness. This also goes a lot with narcissistic behavior. I don't believe my parents are narcissists in any way, so I want to make that really, really clear. But I have helped a lot of other people who have narcissistic parents or have been in narcissistic relationships, and there is deep found fears about forgiveness that if you forgive someone, you're saying that what happened was okay, that their behavior was okay, that you're giving them a free pass, that you're letting them off of the hook, that you're giving them permission to continue behaving in the way that they are behaving. So I want to be really clear and say that forgiveness is not condoning of behavior. Forgiveness is never saying what happened is okay or that it's excusable. That is not what forgiveness is. Okay, that is not what forgiveness is. I want to make that very, very, very clear. I also want to make it clear that you deciding to forgive someone or not to forgive someone is not going to dictate them changing their beliefs, changing their behavior, changing their perceptions. Because basically, if you say, well, I'm not going to forgive someone because then they'll never see the light of day, you're trying to control or manipulate their behavior by basically blocking off love to them. Because forgiveness is a form and extension of love and grace is what forgiveness is. So when you say, well, I'm not going to forgive someone because they don't deserve it and they're not worthy of it, and because of their behavior, if I were to forgive them, then I'm giving them a free pass and they're never going to see the light of day, you're basically believing that if you don't forgive them, that somehow you're going to manipulate them into feeling bad about what they did. And I can tell you right now, whether I chose to forgive my parents or did not forgive my parents are not going to change their religious beliefs. So me withholding forgiveness from them is not going to suddenly make them, say, okay, well, we reject our religious beliefs, because that's a core belief that they have. And their core belief that they have, so belief is just a pattern of thought, is rooted in the idea that they actually want me to go to heaven, which for the longest time, I've talked about this shift in perspective. I now realize that for the longest time, I viewed their religious perspective as always trying to send me and damn me from hell. And that small, subtle shift of, well, they are trying to send me to heaven because they believe that me being gay means eternal damnation, is their way of loving me. So when we talk about the fears of forgiveness, there's a lot of reasons why we're afraid of forgiving. And I think the biggest one is that we think that we're letting people off the hook. And that's not really the case. The truth is that forgiveness is a decision to see someone through the eyes of unconditional love And the way Louise Hay talks about this, which is really interesting to me, and I've really kind of latched onto this idea, is that every single person was born into this world, this earth, as a baby, as an innocent baby. And so when you choose to forgive someone, you're choosing to see them back as like an innocent person, as a baby, basically. And more importantly, it's a decision to release the emotional ties between you and that person and that experience. So in terms of like me and my parents, the forgiveness aspect was hugely freeing to me because it detached the emotional ties of angerness, bitterness, and resentment, and more importantly, hate that was festering in my energetic and emotional body that I was attached to and holding on to whenever I thought about them. Now, I disagree with their religious beliefs, but that doesn't mean I can't forgive them, and that doesn't mean that I can't still disagree, and that also doesn't mean that I can't set energetic boundaries of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable in our relationship. And so when we think about detaching those emotional set points, the reason why that's so incredibly important is because the law of oneness talks about how we're all connected. And when you realize that we're all connected, when you refuse and you hang on to the angerness, bitterness, and resentment, you're actually creating from that place to a certain degree in your life, and you're cutting off levels of love and abundance you could experience. And the reason why I know this is because when I made that energetic core decision to forgive them, I started noticing other ways that my life was simply improving because I wasn't emotionally attached to being a victim, and I began to assert my own power in my life, which is the power of choice and the power to choose how I viewed and thought about people, including my parents. And so the reason why we're so afraid of forgiveness is because it makes us feel vulnerable. It makes us feel vulnerable. And the thing about vulnerability is it's because when we're hurt so bad, our automatic nervous system, our flight or fight response, wants to protect us from ever experiencing that hurt or pain again. And so because our automatic nervous system wants to protect us from ever feeling that hurt or pain again, what we decide to do then is we choose not to forgive, because we think if we don't forgive, we're actually protecting ourselves from experiencing that pain again. But the truth is that when we forgive, we're actually feeling into those emotions once and for all, and we're choosing to let them go, which is the actual healing process to move past those pains and traumas. In old versions of psychology, having people like relive past emotional trauma, the reason why there's been a huge shift in the scientific community is because they would have people like relive the trauma over and over again. And the act of forgiveness is energetically feeling once and for all the low vibration emotions to let them actually pass through your body, and then severing that emotional tie. Now, you all might be seeing this and saying, well, it's one thing to have parents, you come out of the closet, reject you, but it's another thing, you know, for rape or incest or for, you know, someone killing somebody else. And while I still believe that the forgiveness process is just as critically important, I do admit readily that different emotional traumas require a different level of forgiveness and a different time period to heal the wounds, because no wound is the same. Just like you can have like a paper cut and you can have like a huge 6-inch gash stab wound that goes all the way down to your heart. So forgiveness is also not just like a one and done thing. Like there's different levels. And I will say that I have forgiven my parents for so much, but I still have more to forgive. And I work on that every single day because I care so much and I love them so much. So the idea of forgiving someone when they hurt you so much, the wounds are just deeper. They just are. And I don't have the quote in front of me, but there was a parent from Sandy Hook Elementary School whose son was murdered, a mom who wrote a really amazing book. And she talked about forgiving not only the shooter, but forgiving the mom. And I highly recommend you all check out what she has to say about forgiveness, because if you talk about someone who could possibly really resonate with you with the power of forgiveness, I can't think of anything that might be more traumatic than a parent losing a 5-year-old child. That just boggles my mind. So bringing all this up because you guys know I'm launching Tuning Into Love. I'm super excited about it. I'm going to teach you all the processes of forgiveness, how it works, how to open yourself up to forgive when you really don't want to and you don't feel like you're ready to forgive yet, how to make that choice, how to put a crack in the bubble, so to speak, to start releasing and letting go of the judgment, the bitterness, the angerness, and the resentment. Because the truth of the whole matter is that when you forgive, you're just allowing more love and joy into your life. And anytime you allow more joy and love into your life, I call it Jove, joy and love at the same time, Jove. When you allow more Jove into your life, you experience basically newfound levels of just energetic peace and abundance, and more than just your relationships, but like in your finances and your business. It just, because everything is interconnected, it's really powerful. So I love you all. Remember, as always, you are more successful than you realize, you are more beautiful than you know, and you're more loved than you can ever possibly imagine, and you were born to slay. Thank you all so much for stopping by to watch some of my inspirational and encouraging mindset content. I encourage all of you to drop by our private free Facebook group, You Were Born to Slay, on Facebook, where we got the link is down below in the comments, where I have tons of written free content, more inspirational posts, more inspirational videos for you to enjoy throughout the week. And then of course, the worst feeling in the world, boo, is when you feel stuck. So if you want to take my free 7 Reasons You Might Feel Stuck masterclass, the link is down there in the comments, so check that out as well. And last but not least, we have some more inspirational mindset content for you to watch here and here. And they're both really good, boo, so it doesn't matter where you start, but I would love for you to watch some more inspirational content to help you discover how you can experience more joy, more love, more abundance in your life every single day. I love you so much. Have an awesome day, boo.